Joining us right now to talk about it is Rich Greenfield. Of course, he comes to us from LightShed Partners. And Rich, we're also going to get you to weigh in on Warner Brothers Discovery, reportedly settling that lawsuit against the NBA and keeping some basketball content. But let's start with the Netflix game, or the Netflix match. This was a really big deal. 60 million, a ton of viewers. Obviously, we'll be getting more stuff like this down the road. But how significant was the issues they have with streaming to all households?
I mean, the content was a snore fest. I mean, I went to my first UFC fight at MSG on Saturday night, and it was electric relative to watching the Netflix match. But look, what did the Netflix match show you, Becky? It showed you the power of scale. Like when you reach 280 million households around the world, bringing in, 60, it's like, 20% of Netflix households worldwide tuned in. It's a huge number for television, yet still a small number for Netflix, given how big the platform is. And I think it just shows you that their live strategy is working. They can make events. Like when you have the reach and engagement, you can drive excitement and build enthusiasm for a live event unlike any other platform. And I think it just shows you Netflix is going to do more and more live events like this.
I had two thoughts that came out of this. One is if you are the NFL or one of the big leagues, you're looking at this saying they've got to make sure that this is not going to have any technical issues before we go along with that. And the second was what happens with the carriage laws. If you look at the FCC and try to get to this point of will a new incoming FCC look a little differently than Democrat FCCs have, just in terms of who we're going to favor? If this is going to be a forced issue where, the small tech companies that are no longer so small still get a free ride from whether it be the cable companies or any of the companies that have built these networks that are now creating such a drain on the industry.
Look, tech is hard. There's no doubt tech is hard. If you think about what Comcast and the Peacock team were able to accomplish with the Olympics, there's no doubt this is very hard. On the flip side, I mean, I watched the fight on Friday night, Becky. I didn't have any problems. I know lots of people that didn't have problems. There were definitely issues, but I think the overwhelming majority of people did not have problems. And look, this is crawl, walk, run, right? Like, I think they are working on building up scale for live. This was important as a building block to getting to the NFL. And I think to the extent that the NFL goes better, it may not be perfect, but it goes even better than this. It's two games. Like they're building up expertise for live. And in terms of like from a industry standpoint, meaning from an FCC, I think the FCC is going to want more competition going forward. And so more bidders and more platforms making content. I mean, Netflix making this available reaches more homes than even have pay TV anymore. I mean, there's more Netflix households in the U.S. than people paying for cable television. So I think from making access to content, putting things on, whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime, I think is good for American consumers, not bad.
In terms of the tech, real quick, before we go to Warner, do you think, I mean, if you're Roger Goodell, it's to Becky's point, you're having a heart attack thinking, what's it going to look like on Christmas Day? And so since we haven't heard what the actual technical problems were, do you think it's a production issue? Do you think it was a server issue?
My suspicion, Andrew, is it just complete simultaneous scale, like just the amount of people. Those numbers are just, I mean, there's been nothing on Netflix that's even in the ballpark for live of what just happened. I'm not even sure the NFL will be as big as what this was, just knowing what an NFL game does in terms of traditional household reach. Now, yes, it's Christmas Day, it's two games, that's the only thing on, but those were pretty astounding numbers. 60 million households tuning in for the whole fight on average. That's a pretty crazy number.